I'm a little confused. I read, and I think you told us in a previous class, that the Irish came, well, you mentioned tonight again, the Milesians. Are they Greeks or Turks or what? And they had a stopping off place in Spain?
Well,
is that what you were insinuating when you said there's something between the Spanish and the Irish?
Well,
there's something very important between the Spanish and the Irish.
Well, if you don't think in terms of Spanish, Greek, Turks, because they're modern constructs, they're modern ideas. Think Mediterranean. There was almost a pan-Mediterranean culture. So you got to think in terms of the Mediterranean. And of course you had the Eastern Mediterranean and the Western Mediterranean, the North and the South and so on. But nevertheless, the Mediterranean was in its time a bit like America in that it was connected. And it was beautifully connected because it was so easy to navigate around the rim. They used to call it a duck pond. I think it was one of the Athenian philosophers said, we're ducks around a large pond. But what he was really saying was that we were connected. The people of Carthage and Cairo, and we all know of each other's existence because of the commerce. So you have to think not so much of a particular part of the Mediterranean, the east or the west, although there was huge differences, obviously. Nevertheless, though, they were one large culture, a unit culture. Now, obviously, the Eastern Mediterranean was the dynamo. That was where most of the wealth came out of, for the very simple reason that it was connected through what we call now the Silken Road, the Silken Trip. But for time immemorial, there was camel trains and connections going all the way back to China. So the Western Mediterranean would have been the outlet for that vast cultures going through Persia and so on. So that would have been like a marvelous place. So if you happen to be a camel driver, you'd know all about from Samarkand all the way to Mil, to the city of Mil, which I believe is where the Milesians came from, for no other reason than the names are the same. And the very earliest Greek philosophers were from they were the Milesians. They were from Milesius.
The city of Mil.
Well, it's probably underwater now because, as you know, it's the other way around, isn't it? I'm sorry, is it her or? It's probably inland. That's right. It's inland, like Troy is inland now. Yeah, but it would have been the western port of the camel trains going all the way back through Baghdad and back through current Pakistan and Afghanistan and so on, because it was the western port of that area, and it was captured and recaptured by various civilizations, and we know most about it from the Greeks because it became a Greek city somewhere around 800 BC. But there was a tradition in the city of Miletus that when exotic travelers came through, you didn't let them go without getting their scale, as the Irish would say, getting their story. They have to have their story. What's the story? So no doubt they would spend some very pleasant times as the guests of the philosophers who wanted to know what was going on where they were, and so on. So it was a great city of learning. And some of the very, very earliest philosophers, pre-Athenian, come from Miletus.
So have we placed it in the land that would now be Turkey, or?
No, I don't think we could, because see, there would have been so much trade and traffic around that area. Now remember, the Bosphorus there was no bridge across then. Bridge came later. So that would have been connected up to the Black Sea. So a lot of what we were called Caucasians, a lot of stuff would have come down through that. That's why the Aegean Sea and the Eastern Mediterranean was so incredibly important, because it was middle of that world. And then, of course, from there on it was by sea. So we are the maritime extension of that civilization. No doubt in the world, in my mind, that's where we come from. Whether we stopped off at the Nile for a couple of generations and went on to Spain and then up to Ireland. But clearly the first settlements in Ireland came by sea, ultimately from the Eastern Mediterranean, because all the present site of Marseilla, which is the Greek name, would have been an obvious stop off because it had a river going way up into the heartland, so that they would have had that would have been their way into the current France, into Gaul. So and the same with the great rivers of the Iberian Peninsula. When you go to the river between Spain and Portugal, I mean you can see that was an obvious place you went up to see what you could find. And of course there's prehistoric remnants up there, so that they would have settled on the mouth of those rivers, penetrated up into them, and worked their way around. So the tradition is that the Gaels, the Irish, came from the northwest tip of Spain, which makes all the sense in the world, is where they would come from, and that they launched out from there. But again, it's like the American grandmothers. That doesn't mean that they came from Cork. They left from Cork, so that whoever we are and the various invasions or peoples who migrated one after the other. So we're not just one, we're a series of them. And the Miletians, and I don't know whether it's connected with Miletus or whether it was just a name that was given because of its military, the Meal, but we do know that a guy called Meal was the son of he didn't get there, but his sons did. So we can only surmise and guess, but we have a lot of clues, and I like the linguistics. Linguistics, very powerful too. Our language, the structures of our language, is much more like Farsi than it is German or any European language.
Yeah, most of the words I'm listening to it rings a bell.
But even the structure, the verb coming first, totally unknown in the rest of Europe. So it's fascinating listening to some linguists, and they will tell you right off the bat, this is in no way connected in any shape or form to any European language, including the classical languages, Latin and Greek.
Did the Miletians speak Gaelic? And is that what you're saying? That they actually spoke the Gaelic language?
Well, we don't know. The Godelics, probably not. The Miletians probably were even earlier than that. We don't. I don't know. Maybe somebody does. But Kevin, you probably know more about this than I do. Huh? The myth is that yes, they were the same people, but I'm not sure that's the case.
I had a medieval history teacher a Franciscan priest, and he was kind of a scholar in the Middle Ages, and his claim was this name that you're using tonight, Goidelic.
Goidel.
He claims that was the lost tribe of Israel.
That's right. Oh yeah, that's a very strong.
When you mentioned the Goidels earlier, you never made any reference to the fact that they might have been derived from.
Well, I didn't, because I didn't want to sound too too hokey. But if you want to, this is question time, so it's wide open. So let's talk about that. Yeah, but you got to be careful, because see, religion, essentially, Judeo-Christian religion is essentially a creationist religion. So they tend to stick pretty well to the fact that God created the world X number of thousand years ago, and so many things happened, and the flood and so on. So they tend to want to fit that within that framework. So here you have, they've invented a guy who happened to be at the Tower of Babel, who was one of, and so he went off by ship and ended up in Ireland, and he had this, particular good, and I think they called him Goodell or something like that, So that's the mythological hit story, probably concocted by the monks sitting in much later times trying to figure out how all this work could come together with their personal beliefs about the biblical thing. So you got to be careful about that. Now, what interests me about the story of and we've talked about this here before, is the stone of Scone.